Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? You look good. Thanks for joining me. So this is a really exciting conversation. My name is Rakia Finley. I am the CEO of Copper and Vine Studio. We're an innovation lab based out of Washington, D.C. and London. We focus on building the things that haven't been built yet, and how do we do that from a human perspective. We utilize a lot of AI, a lot of automation, but at the same time we utilize a lot of really good code to make sure we're listening to everybody. I get to be joined with two really dynamic women from the concept of not only creative, but also executive leadership and how to build great teams that build cool things. So I want to give you guys a chance to introduce yourself, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Rakia. Yeah, I'm Pearce. I count myself as one of the lucky ones. I've been in this advertising industry for over 25 years. I knew I wanted to be in this business from the time I was 8 years old. And was inspired by a TV show. I could not believe that this was actually a job. And when I found out it was, there was no looking back. So I am currently partner and general manager at an ad agency called Rethink. We were named Independent and Agency and Network of the Year at Cannes here last year. And yeah, we span across 5 offices across North America. And really, it's an agency that was built out of, we like to say, the dissatisfaction for the status quo. And that is why we're called Rethink. We're constantly looking for new and better ways of doing things with relentlessness. And that's really the spirit that lives in all the work that we do and all the rethinkers that are part of the agency. So happy to be here.
A challenge to follow the introductions of both of you, but very grateful to be sharing a stage with you today. So my name is Mack. I'm the Vice President of Brand at a company called Telus. Telus started as a telecommunications company in Canada. We're one of the largest. We're a very well-known and well-loved brand, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that means today when we think about connecting emotively and being creative and bringing that to scale. But maybe I'll share just a little bit more about our organization because we have a really interesting story. So like Karen, I'd always wanted to work in this space, and I spent the first half of my career working in agencies, and I loved it because it's fast-paced and you work in so many different industries and across so many different business challenges. And I always sort of said if there was one company in Canada that I would leave agency side to go work for, it would be Telus. So let me tell you a little bit about Telus and why I think it's an amazing organization. Telus is really a purpose-driven organization. We are guided by the principles of social capitalism. Social capitalism to us is the notion that doing good and good business are mutually inclusive. Those two fundamentals go hand in hand. So yes, we're a telecommunications company and we believe in connecting Canadians from coast to coast to coast. We believe strongly in reducing the digital divide because putting the power of technology and connectivity into the hands of all will establish us as a stronger society and drive better innovation. But we've also used the power of our technology to invest in really, really important social purposes around the world. And that's the catalyst from which we've been able to start to grow and become a global brand of scale. So ways that we've done that is in the area of digitized health solutions, so connecting the health ecosystem and really partnering with organizations to make sure that we are having employers help fund preventative health and well-being across the country so that we can establish healthier and more productive communities. And the other area that's incredibly exciting is in technology and agriculture and connected consumer goods. So using the power of our technology, IoT, to help create greater crop yield, to really follow from seed to farm to fork to shelf to consumer so that we can reduce wastage in the entire agricultural ecosystem and ensure that we're reducing wastage and getting the food into the hands of the people around the world as we try to tackle some of those world's most pressing issues. So if you bring that back down to my role as Vice President of Brand, wow, do we ever have an incredible repository of stories to tell and ways to differentiate ourselves as a telecommunications company in Canada and winning the hearts and minds of our customers around the world.
Lisa is a client of Rethink as well at the Telus brand. So it's a nice partnership we have as well.
That's right.
It's beautiful. What a partnership to have. Now, I get to sit here as the technologist, as the engineer, but really, when that comes down to the work that you do, I'm the doer. And I want to talk about how you manage your doers. How do you inspire them? How do you maintain their focus when it comes to building human, right? How do you maintain culture when it comes to being creative and building bold and scary and complex and brilliant things? How do you maintain a good team with creativity at the heart?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, that is what we do for sure. And I'll just go back to saying how Rethink was born and what it was born out of. It's in our DNA to challenge the status quo. And we attract people that are interested in doing that. So just by nature of the people that we're attracting and the people that we're bringing in, it creates its own culture that way. But I do believe that culture is also a practice of values and behaviors. And so we're pretty particular on what that means to us at Rethink. And we also have a promise. First of all, I should say our mission is to inspire believers in the brands that we believe in. So the kinds of clients that we bring into Rethink matter. That creates culture. We have to really believe in the work that we're doing and the partnerships that we have with clients. So that's really important. And we say that if we achieve our mission, if we go forward and do our mission, then our promise is you'll do the best work of your career. And that's really what the bar that we hold ourselves up to. And we invite Rethinkers to come in and we say, our promise is you will do the best work of your career at Rethink if you put the work in, if you want to do the best work. So I think, values, behaviors, practicing our mission will deliver on our promise, and that creates a really nice cycle and a great culture.
I love that. Lisa, you talk a lot about innovate within.
Yeah.
I love that. Can you tell us more?
Absolutely. So I think maybe I'll start with just sort of one step back, building off what Karen shared. So our brand promise is, let's make the future friendly, which is interesting. So we had a 20-year legacy of a brand promise, the future is friendly, which was really at a time when technology was surrounded by fear. Technology was suddenly in the hands of all. People didn't know what these cell phones were going to do. How are they going to impact their lives? Technology was a scary place. And so our brand's role was to help make the future feel friendly. But that's shifted. And so 3 years ago, we revised our tagline to be the future is friendly. And really what that is that's inclusive and that's active. And it's an invitation for customers and communities to join us in making the future friendly. And so I start there because that is really about innovating from within. So we're a telecommunications company. I shared examples of how we're innovating at scale globally. But even when you bring that back down to how are we shaping our brand and putting that into the hands and the hearts and minds of Canadians and consumers around the world, we know that we have to do two things really, 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 really well. We need to remain relevant so that we can connect on an emotional human level. We're a human brand. We need to connect emotionally. But we know we need to stay ahead of the curve to be culturally relevant. And so if I use those two principles against the backdrop of what our brand stands for, and we think about the world of AI and what that's doing to disrupt and reshape how we go to market and the entire creative ecosystem, things that I've done within my team is, again, going back to our principles, let's not let the technology be too scary. Because it's a little bit scary, because it's so unknown. But if you put the power in the hands of the people that are playing with the technology and that are shaping the brand and that are connecting with consumers, that's where real innovation comes. So I can share a couple of examples with you of things that we've done. If you just boil it down to its most basic, we've been using machine learning and AI in our industry for many, many years. It's not new. But we have a new face for it, and we have a new way of engaging with the technology, which is a little bit scary. So one of the things that I did with my team recently is I said, let's actually understand the work that we do at a task level. So let's actually go down and spend a few minutes and write out the tasks of our daily work. Which of those tasks are more easily automated through generative AI? If we can understand task reduction to free up time to be able to invest in creativity and innovative thinking, that's a much more powerful tool than just getting through our days or just being worried about AI or just stitching AI in through our workflows, which are all really important things. So for example, we held a half-day hackathon with my team where every team member from across the country came in and they built their own co-pilot based on an understanding of how they can automate tasks in their day-to-day so that they can focus on innovation and really pushing the boundaries forward so that our brand can remain relevant.
I love that. Choosing automation as a team is really great and leading that. I want to give you a chance because I know Rethink is doing so many cool things. Give us some examples on some of the projects you guys are working on that you're most proud of that showcases how we're leveraging these new levels of technology and team.
And team, yeah. Well, I mean, it's not dissimilar to what Lisa is saying I guess AI or any emerging technology is different in every discipline in how we use it. So I like the analogy that Jeff Bezos uses around the transformative power of electricity. And it does kind of remind me, he talks about like when electricity came to be, we never knew what it was going to do for manufacturing, for transportation, for daily lives. We didn't know, but what we did know is, across the board, it was going to have an effect in different ways. And that's not unlike when we're building brands at Rethink. There's a lot of disciplines that make up brand building, from account service to strategy to creative to production to design, PR, even how we bill out. And so, that layer of AI, really, the way we look at it is it's a tool to enhance our inherent intelligence. It's a collaborator. I think the opening speech by Apple, it was like AI is shotgun. And so it's a pretty exciting time. I would say it's maybe most disruptive in production right now. It's been interesting, like even over the past, I'd say a year ago, we were like, oh, let's try AI Zoom companion. Let's try, oh, this is cool. It's theming everything. It's faster in these areas. And I would say even in the last month with VO3 from Google, it's like, whoa, okay, now people are paying attention. We see what's happening. It's still a bit clunky. I learned the other day, it's like 8 seconds, it can hold 8 seconds of fidelity, this VO3. So imagine a 30-second spot of 8-second clips. So for example, if you're, I'm going like this because I audio record all the time now, but if you're texting to video, imagine, and you're prompting it to make these 8-second clips to make a 30-second ad or whatever it is, and you're telling it to create a dog. Well, every 8 seconds, the dog might look different. So it's a real, you have to train it, you have to edit it. But we're starting to see that just as of, this past month, I would say it's really come into play. So that's really, really interesting. In terms of brand building and how it's shaping brand building, like we say, in each discipline, it could mean something completely different. But at Rethink, the way we look at building brands is creating timeless platforms that with timely executions. And so how does AI help with that? Well, it's like our co-pilot underneath. It feeds us information. It can inform strategy. It makes things happen quicker. We're looking a little bit at how it's going to play in production. But overall, we're still building brands the way we always have. And that is, again, like creating really strong brand platforms and getting into culture and staying relevant by understanding what's going into culture and proving out your brand platform in a really timely manner. So I don't know if that, it's a companion with us. It's really exciting. It enhances what we've been doing for years and what we know works really, really well.
Yeah. Just to double click on that.
Yeah.
When it comes to still creating creatives, right? When it's still creating products that are still creative and human and connected, how, beyond it supporting that pragmatic co-pilot, how is it supporting your creatives and their output?
Yeah, again, like I feel like all of the disciplines it's supporting, because again, to build a brand, it requires, it's not just a creative department. It's everybody that, strategy, for example, we like to say that we learn from people, not about people, for example. So, and every brand that we create has to have the human touch. That's something that's never going to go away with AI. We're building brands for people, and so we have to be connecting in with people. So I think I mean, how many of us, for example, have received an email before and totally misinterpreted the tone of an email? Like anytime an email starts with Karen, comma, I'm like, well, they're pissed. Like there's so many misinterpretations. So I think, the part where it's not helping is in the connecting and really understanding about people. The part where it is helping is once we have all that information, it can help us put it together and find themes and maybe get to where we need to go quicker. And then from a creative standpoint, we have a shared language called crafts at Rethink, and this might help shape it a little bit. But crafts is an acronym, and it's C is clear, is what we're putting out there. Clear, is it relevant? Is it achievable, like within budget? Is it fresh? Is it true to who we're speaking to, and is it shareable? So when you look at AI and how that's helping us in each of that, with each of those acronyms, I would probably say, from a relevance standpoint, not as much. We have to be out there. We have to understand what's going in culture. Maybe it can be additive. It can help us a little bit there. Is it achievable? Absolutely, it can help us there. It goes much deeper, I would say, on the achievable part and how we actually execute and bring to market. But then is it fresh? AI is not helping us there right now. It's actually sometimes inaccurate. So, it's a repository of what's going on in the world right now. So it doesn't help as much there. Is it true to the audience? It's additive. Like we say, we learn from people, so we got to interpret, body language, what people are doing, their behaviors. It can help a little bit there as well. So, like you say, it's a co-pilot. It gets us going maybe a little bit faster in areas, but it doesn't really take away from the creative product that we put out there and how we get there.
I love that. Well, we're running out of time. I would love to sit here all day, and then we'll go to the pool, and then we'll get Aperol spritz.
Yeah,
but apparently
let's do
they
it.
told us we have to work and be brilliant. But I want to really hold space to what you both believe, especially with such a powerful partnership of what's next. As someone who is begging for big ideas to enter into the world, because it means that agencies like Copper and Vine get to build them and see how they make lives better and make days sweeter. What do you feel is the direction that we get to look to as agency leaders, as product developers, as brand creators? What's our next?
I can start with a thought on that. I think our role as leaders in this space, in this moment, is to empower ourselves and our teams to be more curious than we've ever been. I think curiosity is key. Always be curious is a little bit of a guiding principle that I try to live by and lead by. And I think that's really, really important, because curiosity in terms of how is the technology going to help us be better at our jobs. Curiosity in terms of how do I need to develop my own skills and enable the skills development of my team so that they can stay with the technology, extract the best of the technology to deliver the outcomes that we need to deliver for our business. Be curious about how we're going to be able to better and more efficiently connect with our customers and our communities. Because we talk a lot, we've been talking at Cannes this week a lot about content and content at scale and personalization at scale. And they might be buzzwords, but they're really important because we have to do more with less in these times that we're in. And the tools and the technology are enabling us to do that if we harness them in the right way across that entire ecosystem of faster to better insight, faster to better, more impactful creative, faster to more relevant personalization in the ecosystem, faster to scale of that personalization. But we can't do any of that if we don't lead with curiosity and stay with and where possible ahead of the advancements of the technology.
I love that. Faster to better. I love that.
Okay, I'm going to use some language that I've heard you use before. How might we? It's language we use at Rethink as well. Yeah, and that is really, I think when we come up with ideas that are fresh, new ideas, and we're building brands that have cultural fluency, that can have an earned place. So we got to kind of follow around what's going on in culture. I think what's really exciting now is the how might we. And that is how might we turn this around in 24 hours? How might we jump on this zeitgeist right in this very moment? How might we make a product in 24 hours? So just a quick example on that, Heinz is a client of ours, and there was a moment in time where Taylor Swift was caught eating chicken nugget, chicken finger, whatever, with ketchup and seemingly ranch. And so in under 24 hours, not only did we put a social post out there, but we created a product. Now, granted, they had a product on the shelf called Cranch that was not a good seller. Maybe the name, I don't know. But to be able to turn that around with such efficiency, this is where I think technology, AI, I think we can do things faster, 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 but we call this go then grow. And it probably makes sense in your business a little bit as well, where it's like, let's try this, let's see what happens, let's see if people are paying attention to it, if there's a bit of a groundswell, if technology can continue to support us and get out there quicker, if we can innovate on products in record time. Like, this is the how might we. And I think that the more and more the answers are yes. And so I think that's what's exciting. I think if we stay grounded in what's going on in culture, and we're building these really, really timeless platforms, and we just constantly prove it out in different and interesting ways by following culture and knowing what the technology is, it's going to be a really exciting, fun place to be.
I love that. Thank you for calling out my favorite thing to do. How might we?
Might we?
Yes,
It's the
I
best
agree.
question.
It's the most vast way to the point of fast and better. It's the fastest and most betterest way
Yeah.
that you can get to a bold ideation.
Yes.
But what you've double clicked on with it is being so willing to see the world as it is now. And you met consumers where they were.
Yeah.
And doing that and then layering that with, but how might we make it faster and better is really dynamic. Any final words as you all leave us?
I have a thought. I was thinking about this a little bit, and how we keep everyone agile, and kind of going back to your question on creating a culture that isn't going to embrace this. And I was talking with a colleague the other day on what you resist persists. So it's good to lean in and all the things. But I guess I would just, as a culture, also encourage, and as humans in this time, encourage ourselves to continue putting ourselves in uncomfortable situations on purpose. And feeling a little bit, going into places that feel unfamiliar. Because it is a muscle, and it is a bit of a practice that the more you do that, the easier these kinds of, when mass, technology like this comes in, it doesn't feel as overwhelming, I guess. And you can take a minute and just be like, your brain, I've been here before. I've been in these uncomfortable, unfamiliar places. So just a thought on how it might help to take it all in.
I love that. What would you say would be the next step after that? So now that you're in the uncomfortable space and you're actively listening and you're identifying how might we's, what's next after that?
Oh man, I mean, I feel like I could go a few places. First of all, you got to learn the tools. And I think just calling it AI even is a bit overwhelming. Like, I think to take it one level further, and like AI literacy, and now actually know the tools, know if the orchestra is AI, you got to not learn how to play the instruments, but you have to know what they do to create, sort of harmony, if I keep running with that analogy. But I would say take it another level, get your hands dirty, and learn some of the tools. At least know what they do.
I agree. You both continue to identify that of, if we're talking about AI, what are we really talking about?
Yeah.
And I've really admired both of yours ability to identify that difference. As a developer, I appreciate it, because you're right, it is. It's artificial intelligence. It might be logic-based. Yeah. It might be natural language processing. And if we are more educated in those concepts, we're able to have more effective how might we discussions of, well, it's not so much that the logic base or the database solution that it's pulling from is inaccurate, but maybe the natural language processing rhythm that we've decided to say yes to doesn't align to our consumer base. But if we just say AI, we won't get to those more deeper conversations. So that's brilliant. What about you, Lisa?
I think actually just to build on that point that you're making, which is where I think humans are still incredibly relevant. And I think our intuition, I think our emotional intelligence, I think our context, I think our worldly experience, whatever that might be, is still incredibly important in shaping how we use the technology. And I love your point about understand what it does. Understand what the tools in your tool belt as a marketer are so that you can figure out what is the right orchestration of those tools. But the other thing that I think about sort of what next is, from a leadership perspective, how do we ensure that we are enabling the next generation of leaders and creators to gain those worldly experiences that will continue to allow them to contribute the humanity into the ecosystem, which I think will be incredibly important. And I think as a closing thought, and again, a guiding principle that I referenced earlier, it's about curiosity. And I think that actually ties really nicely to how might we, because that's underpinned by curiosity or a growth mindset. And all of those principles I think have been important for a while. I think we've had language to talk about them for quite some time. But now that's what's going to allow us as leaders to harness the power of the technology, to continue to evolve the technology, but to better utilize the technology. So staying curious, having that growth mindset enables all of the outcomes that you were just talking about in terms of how we'll tackle the future together.
I love it. Curiosity, agility, how might we?
Nice.
Thank
Wrap it
you.
up.
You should clap for that.
Yeah.
How about that?
Thanks for coming. And clap for you. Thank you.